More than 15,000 homes and buildings burned in the Eaton and Palisades fires. But in the midst of the destruction, some homes somehow survived. And in fact, in some cases, it was pure luck, literally, whichever way the wind was.
That's right, Pat. But in others, homeowners believe they were spared because of steps they took long before flames erupted. Christine Lazar is here now. Christine, you spoke to some homeowners with so-called fire-hardened homes. What is that?
Yeah, I mean, look, everybody kind of arrives at that differently. Sometimes they perceive the threat. Other times, things that they've escaped other fires or had their fires burn, and they say, we're going to build differently this time. And I think that's what we keep hearing. We're going to build differently this time. In some cases, those steps started with how the home was built. In others, it's extra protection that came after. Their strategies appear to have helped them avoid catastrophe. They stand out amidst the devastation in the Palisades in Altadena, homes that somehow made it through the firestorm. Kelly Klein's house in Malibu wasn't one of them.
No firemen ever showed up at all. There's no firemen, there's no help, so these houses were just sacrificed.
But right next door, Klein's neighbor's home is still standing.
And we walked around it. I don't see any damage.
No, it's like a green oasis in the middle of a war zone.
Harry Statter founded Frontline Wildfire Defense System, one of a growing number of companies that will install a sophisticated sprinkler setup on your home. As we first reported back in 2023, Frontline created an app that can deploy the sprinklers and fire retardant even if you're not home.
Our software platform will detect fire relative to the location of your home, and it'll also detect wind gusts and fuel conditions, and it'll activate your system on your behalf.
Starting at about $500 a month, the system is far from cheap, but it has Kelly Klein's attention.
Very surprised that any house could make it through that.
Will you build differently?
That would put the Frontline system clearly. I think absolutely have to build differently.
We have a cement floor all the way through this whole level. We have the slate, which is also in our bathrooms, in our showers and things.
The cinder block.
And the cinder block. And then we have our beautiful metal fireplace.
Nancy and Jim Evans designed their home in the hills above Malibu based on the trauma of losing their first one in the old Topanga fire of 1993. It consumed everything, including the valuable artwork Jim had created over the course of his career.
The devastation for me personally was like, it just like sucked a piece of my soul out.
It took us over 2 years to rebuild.
It was kind of a revenge house where we decided we're going to build in the same spot, but we're going to build a fortress.
Their architect framed the fortress entirely of steel. Every door is made of metal. The very few pieces of wood inside are purely decorative. When the Palisades fire roared into their neighborhood, nearly every structure here was destroyed or damaged. It burned up to the Evans front door.
Nothing defended this house. There was no water drops. There was nobody with a hose. This house just like sat here in the middle of this, surrounded by fire.
This time, the Evans home and Jim's art survived, but both their hearts are breaking for so many neighbors who have so much work ahead of them.
It's hard to imagine any man, woman, or child in Los Angeles right now that wasn't touched by this particular tragedy. I've never seen anything so big before. This is like a hole in the soul of Los Angeles in a way that won't be healed for quite a while.
Yeah, and Jim and Nancy Evans have two sons. One lost his home in Altadena. The other is still evacuated from the Palisades, but he was one of the lucky few whose homes survived.